Hello. I am back. And my mom got back on Saturday afternoon from Hawaii. And she was originally supposed to have today off. But obviously, I think they probably called her in. Or one of her coworkers just decided to be a dick. That, I don't know for sure. I've been suffering with darkness yesterday, and I really, at that point, I don't want to go through it again. Because who knows if I'll actually turn into Xehanort, obviously. Well, with the fact that I do want to dye my hair silver, that would be a logical explanation. But anyway, I promised you guys that I was going to have the next chapter for you guys ready. And the next story bio for you. So, here it is for 358 over 2 days, Organization 13. As we all know from the original 358 over 2 days, Shion is a copy of Roxas, a puppet to absorb Roxas' powers. Can't even talk today. And is also gaining Sora's memories. But since I made Shion her own nobody, she's not a copy of Roxas. She does have some of Sora's memories, but she has more along the line of Hikaru's memories. You see, at the end of the start of our friendship, Sora and Hikaru gave up their hearts to save Kairi. When we know in the original Kingdom Hearts, it was Sora that did it. But I put Sora and Hikaru who did it because they were both close to Kairi. And Hikaru gets the image of Kairi, like with her hair being short, of Kairi in the past. But she gets the fact that she doesn't feel like she really knows Kairi much anyway. Well, she doesn't know Kairi much anyway, so. But she does know Kairi, but she gets more looks along the line of Hikaru. Well, of course, like the dark hair and the blue eyes, and Shion won't see it unless she looks in a mirror. She won't see the light brown ring around the outer eye, around the outer edge of the color. She won't see that unless she looks in a mirror. Perfectly explainable, right? But she also takes on the form of, like, she goes half and half. So, like, half of her would be Sora and the other half would be Hikaru, but actually Hikaru is the main one. And Roxas is starting to realize that, and that's not supposed to happen. But, having to fight Shion like that is just weird. Anyway, we all know that when Shion comes into the organization, she has absolutely nothing to go by, nothing to go off of. She is completely blank-faced and everything until she starts getting her identity. Which actually the blue eyes comes into play as Sora. But her hair comes into play as Hikaru. And nobody knew that. But, she had really, when she started talking, Roxas thought the voice sounded a little familiar, but it's still going to be the same Shion voice that we know from the game for 358 over 2 days. It's going to still be the same voice for Shion, but it's just her looks that are going to change the most. She realizes later that, she realizes at a time when she's talking to Roxas that she's touching her neck. And Roxas is just like, what's going on? And Shion's just like, I feel like I should have something there, you know? And she's trying to feel around for a necklace or something. And Roxas is wondering what the heck is going on, and he has no clue what was literally going on with Shion. He just has no idea. But as the time went on, when Roxas would supervise her on missions, on his own anyway, while Axel was off at Castle Oblivion and stuff, and busy with his own missions, Shion would get closer to Roxas. As number 14, like being silent and stuff, I'm number 15 in the organization, so I do know Shion, but obviously, things don't always turn out the way they would think, because, we know, Roxas and Shion in the game obviously are, like, the best of friends, like he and Axel are. And when you see Roxas and Axel hanging out together, you see Lee and Ventus. I have to say that, yes, I have to say that. I had to point that out. But, the thing is the fact that, Shion, and for, nobody's to be born, they are also born from the strongest emotion that they had. Roxas was born with the strongest determination. So he had a lot of Sora and a heart of gold. A heart of gold. And Shion was brought forth with the emotion of crushing. Like falling in love kind of crush. Because of Hikaru having that crush on Sora. And actually, Roxas has a little bit of that crush too, because Sora had this crush on Hikaru at the end of the Dual Castle journey, like before she went off to go find Riku, or went off to go help Riku. He was actually close to admitting to her that he has a crush on her, and he couldn't say anything. Because by the time she left to go help Riku, after what Namine did, making him forget about her, it kind of hurt. It really kind of hurt Hikaru. So, like, yeah. She had this feeling that she was being forgotten, so Shion kind of has that feeling as well. Like, she fears that she's going to be forgotten by people, but she knew somewhere deep down that they have to forget about her. So, we all know that's how nobodies are born. They're usually born from the strongest emotion possible, and hers was getting a crush, was having that crush. Not from being crushed to the fact that she was forgotten, or she was forced to be forgotten about, but she has the crush, like, knowing that she was going to fall in love. And Shion, trust me, I have the same feeling anyway. But, anyway, Shion actually started getting a crush on Roxas. Throughout all of their missions together, for Roxas and Shion, when she lost her ability to use the Keyblade, she was thinking, maybe Roxas can help me. Maybe Roxas can help. I don't know for sure, but maybe he can. So, like, when she told him and Axel that she can't use the Keyblade anymore, Axel's the one that came up with the idea that Roxas will do double duty, helping Shion remember how to wield the Keyblade, and, of course, having to let her use the Keyblade as well, while Roxas pulls double duty, getting twice as many hearts on missions. And they thought it was a great idea. So, we all know that their missions that they go on together were having to be pulled off by Axel for Sykes to understand, without Sykes knowing that she couldn't use the Keyblade. So, putting them together, having to say that they could go on harder missions, that taught Sykes, I would say that taught Sykes a great deal about what's going on. So he allowed it. For that point. He allowed it. But Shion still couldn't wheel her Keyblade forward anymore. She still couldn't wield it forward. So at one point when they were on the clock tower, she had this flashback that maybe something had happened. She had this memory pop into her head. It wasn't hers, but it was Hikaru's. She didn't know Hikaru, but Hikaru couldn't wheel her Keyblade forward in Castle Oblivion, so she was wondering if that was what happened, if that's why she couldn't wheel it forward. It's because during the time when Shion and Roxas are on that mission, she lost the ability to use the Keyblade, and it was hard for her to use it. And what she did with Roxas was almost like what Hikaru did with Sora and Riku, having to switch off Keyblades, switch off like every room in Castle Oblivion when going through those memory worlds, where having to do that. It's pretty hard. But yeah. And it did help her, because after Hikaru went to sleep was when Shion got the ability to use it again. But it's different than what she expected. It had Wayward Wind, Rainfell, and Earthshaker. And she was wondering, why the heck do I have this kind of Keyblade? I don't remember this. And then all of a sudden, she gets this memory from the past. Hikaru's memory from the past, where Hikaru would get that Keyblade. And she was wondering who that little girl was. And so one day, when she couldn't sleep, and Axel was awake too, she decided to ask Axel. And of course they had to talk in private because, hey, who wants Sykes listening in on their conversations? So they both go to the clock tower, and she starts talking to him. Roxas is dead asleep, so he's not going to be able to know that Shion was gone. But she looked at what was going on. She told Axel what was going on and asked him if he knew a dark-haired girl when he was a somebody, when he was a person, and when he was human. And he said, "Yeah, I did, but I have no idea where the hell she is." So Shion decides to press just a little further and see if he can probably remember her name, because she wanted to know who this person was that she's getting these memories of. But Axel couldn't remember her name, so Shion's just like, oh, okay. And she thanked him for at least giving her the little information that she needed to figure something out. So they go back to the organization castle, and they go to sleep. She is sent the next day on a mission to go find the impersonator. Yeah, she's sent to go off and find Riku, and she has this feeling that she gets the feeling that she's met him before. She runs into him in Beast Castle, and when she loses a fight to Riku, and Riku looks at her, he doesn't see this black-haired girl. He doesn't see her. He sees one of two people. He either sees Sora, or he sees Hikaru. And Hikaru was like his little sister. So, actually at that point, he was thinking how Hikaru was doing being asleep. He had a feeling because actually Namine told him that she had gone to sleep. And Riku's just like, I have this feeling she would have to anyway, because She's been having a hard time trying to remember stuff from the past, and she's still having a hard time. I can feel it. But he had told her, he had asked Shion who she really was and why she had that Keyblade. Riku doesn't remember it because he's never seen that Keyblade before. But he had a feeling that Hikaru had used it. So he was thinking, was that Hikaru's Keyblade? And he was literally confused. So Shion threw back, and tell me first why you're dressed as one of us. And he said, make sure my best friend and little sister sleep in peace. I don't know who you're supposed to be, but you can't fight fire with sparks. This Keyblade is a sham, worthless. And tossed it to the side. And it was the mixture Keyblade. And she's telling him, and it wasn't just her. What shocked Riku was the fact that she said it in Hikaru's voice. And he did not expect that coming, but he had to knock her out and tell her that she had to find a new crowd because Organization 13 is bad news. And she throws back at him, why? Because you're the real sham. And we all know, Riku says, fair enough. You may say that I am the biggest nobody of them all. And she's left there to cry. Left there to scream her heart out at Beast Castle. So it was kind of unexpected. And while Riku's walking off, just leaving her there, he's like, why did I just hear Hikaru at that point? Because when he saw Shion's face, it was Hikaru's face that he saw instead. He saw the hair, and he saw the skin tone. The skin tone, Hikaru's naturally pale. Shion is too. But, well, Shion gets more of the skin color towards Sora than she does of, than she does of Hikaru. She's more towards Kairi. She's like right in the middle. She's in the middle of Sora and Riku, Sora and Hikaru, and it just turns out to be Kairi's spot. So, Shion starts talking to Axel more about it. And when on Destiny Islands on her own, and when she was knocked out on Destiny Islands, Riku is the one that helps her. But Roxas starts getting this jealous feeling. Because Roxas was right there, and when he saw what was going on, he started feeling like his heart was being grasped so tight that it would break. Like it was clenched so tight in a fist, in a hand, that someone was going to break his heart. So he ran off. He didn't want to see that happening. Because Sora, in their first journey, saw that Hikaru was more along the line hanging out with not Riku but Leon. She would rather hang out with Leon than Sora, which is actually kind of awkward for him because they wanted to be friends. Sora wanted them to become better friends, and he started feeling a little jealous. Donald was the one that picked up on that. Donald and Goofy were the ones to pick up on that, and Sora had to just wave it off, saying nothing. But Roxas getting that feeling of jealousy? Something must have sprung a leak in his head. In that brain of his. But, yeah. Then Roxas decided to ask Shion what that was all about. And Shion couldn't find it in her heart to tell him. Because she didn't know how to even break it to him, what was going on with her. Until the very end, where she said that Xemnas had controlled her, like how Xehanort would control Hikaru, and Hikaru did not like that. She did not like that. And then all of a sudden, it would seem like she was wanting to avoid Roxas at all times, and she didn't want to. But all the times, Roxas started ignoring her a bit, just a little bit. But when was told that Shion ran away, he would be literally the first to get up out of his chair, out of his seat, through a dark corridor, and off to find her. But Xemnas had told him to wait to see how it would work, how it would pose out. Because then whenever Xion looked at Xemnas, she would see Terranort, or Terra, in other cases, because of Hikaru's memories. She sees the hair, and she would imagine it shorter in the front. The hair is shorter, just shorter, but same style, but it's shorter, and brown, and his eyes were blue. She would see Terra, but not know who the heck that person is. All the names to her are fuzzy because she doesn't know these people. But at the same time, she has this feeling that she did. She did know them. She was going to bring it up with Lord Xemnas, but she couldn't find it in herself to actually go up to him and ask. Because also when she looked at him, she saw Xehanort. And she did not like that. Just being around him, she didn't like. That was one of the reasons why she ran away, but she also found out who she really was. And like Sora and Hikaru had to fight Axel, she brought that up with Axel. She ran away to Castle Oblivion. That was where she came from, but that wasn't where she actually came from. Like how she said in the game, she actually came from Hollow Bastion. Because that was where she was born. When Sora and Hikaru sacrificed their hearts for Kairi, that's where she and Roxas were from. But they were transported to another place, so she ended up at Castle Oblivion. And guess what? Just outside the hidden chamber in Castle Oblivion, that's where Xion wound up. Just outside that hidden chamber. She was actually up against the wall, but that's where the hidden chamber was. And only Aqua could open that chamber. She started getting memories of Aqua. She started getting memories of Terra and Ventus. And she did not know who those people were. But she did figure that Ventus looked a lot like Roxas. Which in turn, that has been told on here before, that Roxas looks like Ventus. Because Ventus's heart rested within Sora, who then, when Sora sacrificed his heart with Ventus still in it, Roxas took on the form of Ventus. So that's a simple way to put it. So, anywho, I have to put my glasses on. But anyway, when Xion and Roxas had their fights, Xion actually started realizing later. She told Roxas at the end of their final fight together, because she was pressured into doing it. She said Xemnas was controlling her, like how Xehanort would control Hikaru. And she told him that he liked her, that she liked him. She told Roxas, I do like you. I really do. I've been liking you for a long time now, ever since we went on that first mission. I know that sounds strange, but that's how it was. Now I have to go because the person needs me. But please do me a favor, Roxas. All those hearts that I've captured, Kingdom Hearts, set them free. So it was kind of... It's really a sad moment to see Xion fade off like that. It was really sad. I personally don't like that. Because I grew attached to Xion. It's the same way I grew attached to Roxas, but then again, I grew very much attached to Sora. Both as a Shadow Heartless and as a human. I could say the same for Riku, but I don't know for sure if I want to say that because of Ensign Seeker of Darkness. But oh well. And then Roxas, like earlier, Roxas beforehand had left the organization because he wanted to go off on his own, figure out what to do. and he was wondering why the Keyblade chose him. He told Axel that, and Axel was the one that tried to stop him, and Roxas wouldn't listen. And so, therefore, that led him to go to the clock tower, wonder what he was going to do, because he thought he knew where he could go, and he thought it was such a joke. And that's where he had that final battle with Xion, and where she faded from existence. But after that, too, after his fight with Xion, he went to fight. He went off into the world that never was, and decided to fight Riku. Well, ran into Riku almost, so it was interesting for that to happen, because Riku versus Roxas is it's actually a very interesting fight. I admit that. That was a very interesting fight. I should have probably said this, but, like, spoiler alert for those who haven't played 352 Days, but if you have seen, like, the cutscene movie on YouTube, then yeah, you guys will probably know already that they have to fight. But, yeah. Riku winds up, like, somehow losing the fight. Obviously, it depends on your strength as Roxas. But Riku loses the fight, but he then wins, because Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, he released the dark powers. And therefore resulted in Roxas losing. And Riku took him back, and took him to Diz, where Diz told him to put him in the transportation machine, and therefore sent him to a virtual Twilight Town. But that was where Hikaru was resting. But not only that, Roxas had to go about the world as just a regular person. He got to really be a person, experience emotions and everything. More along the lines of anger, but that sounds a lot like Ventus. But then again, it's also with the fact of Sora. And while during his fight with Riku brought up Sora, and it was Sora that responded through Roxas. So Roxas was like, wait a minute, what? What? And Roxas telling him that he was himself, nobody else. There is no point in being Sora for him. But that's the way it all happens. Anyway, then we all know at the end, like, he says Nate will finally hit the beach, and he says he only has 7 days left until summer vacation is over. Put that up, because that looks irritating. Anyway, the next one I'm going to be talking about in the next video. I will be posting these ones today. Well, these last 3 today, even though I said I was going to do them periodically over time, like just day by day. But I'm deciding to do these 3 today, since I've got nothing to do other than write, obviously. I'm writing Long Lost Friends, so I will tell you guys about Long Lost Friends at another point. So, I will see you back here in, I don't know how long. So, I hope you guys found this this is a little shorter, so I'm actually glad about that. This is a little shorter of a bio, because everyone knows the whole plot line for 352 Days, hopefully. If not, then I suggest you guys find it on here to go through either a walkthrough or play the game yourself, because that game is interesting. Just be more prepared if you are going up against one of the enemies in 352 Days is Leechgrave. Please be prepared, because I wasn't, and I'm gonna keep dying if I'm not prepared. So I have to go through all those missions again and see if I can get any others that I'm missing. So anyway, I will see you guys back here for Kingdom Hearts 2: Rescue Me from Darkness. Later, guys. Later, taters.